All right, everybody. What's going on? If you don't know, now you do know. You're officially tuned in to a very special edition of the HFWB Podcast Series. This is your host, Clifton Pope, and with me today, social media is a very, very beautiful thing because you'd be surprised on who you find that kind of fits your teague a little bit and you could relate to based on being like jacks of all trades and being skilled, gifted, and talented, and allows you to connect to many, many people that you'd be surprised that you would find out are very, very similar to how you approach things in life and with everything being said. But overall, the person who I'm about to bring on to the HFWB podcast series, she's basically Miss Jacks of all trades without further ado. I mean, I can go on and on as far as the things that she does, but I'm going to definitely let her explain it a little bit more in details. But just to give you a kind of a quick preview of what she is and what she's all about, she's a fellow entrepreneur. She's an author. She's a music artist. She's an actual artist who actually has her own artwork. She's also a music producer. She's a fashion designer with her own with her own Etsy store online called Havah Designs, where it does 3D printing and sewing tech. I mean, she's basically creative and always a fun, adventurous woman to be around. And the most important thing is she's actually a stay-at-home mom, or as she like to call it, a rock-at-home mom. And we're going to go into all of those details. But with that being said, I would like to welcome my newfound friend to the HFWB podcast series, the lovely Miss Shirin Delsooz to the HFWB podcast series. Shirin, how are you doing on this motivating Monday, I like to call it?
Oh, I'm very happy to be here. I'm feeling great. I don't even realize it's Monday because every day is a great day.
See, and when we're so focused and we're so locked in and we're being productive at the things that we're doing on a regular basis, sometimes we lose track of the days. That's for sure. But I want to kind of get into like a little bit of your backstory, Shirin, as far as how you became the woman that you currently are, how you became the rock at home mom that you are, and how you became so talented, gifted, and skilled in so many different things. I mean, a lot of people don't know this about you. I mean, you grew up in you're from Montreal. You basically grew up in many different locations all across the world, like Ontario, but mainly London and Toronto.
Oh, sorry, it's not around the world. I only lived in Canada. London is a city named after London, England. It's like a copy of they copied England, like London, like everything's the same names of the streets, same parks. There's like even the postal code is the same. Like in London it starts with N, and then in London, Ontario. So London, Ontario, because like I don't like to tell people like, oh, I'm from Montreal. They think like I was born there and I spent my adulthood 20s there, but I lived in Toronto and a small city in London. Because like people say, oh, you're just you think you're from the big city, but I lived in a small city too. So I like to make that clear to people.
No, and that's what we're all about on the HFWB podcast series, is making things clear for sure. So Shirin, kind of give us a little bit of your backstory and what led you down the path towards just entrepreneurship, self-employment, the importance of just being independent and being your own boss for those who are listening to the HFWB podcast series and who aspire to be in the position that you're in.
Yeah, I don't even know where to start. There's just so much factors that go into play and how you become an entrepreneur. But I guess one of the big ones is the recession that happened to me, because I was always told all my life, study hard and good things will happen to you. And I got a degree at what I thought was like a prestigious program because it was very hard to get in. They only accepted 100 people. I studied communication studies at university. And it took me a long time to get a job. And then finally, when I did get a job, it wasn't what I thought it was. No one told me in school that getting a job means you work 40 hours a week and you get 2 weeks vacation. They tell you everything in school, a lot of things, but they don't tell you this fact. I'm like, this can't be life. That can't be life, So I always tell my kids that. Yeah, and a lot of factors, I guess just like life experience and I just how fast the technology is happening with AI and all that, and you got to use these things to your advantage. And I'm like trying to learn as much as I can, and I see so many. I have so many ideas I can, do with all of this technology in front of me, and that's how I got into sewing and 3D printing. It's all new, so. Um, yeah, and I came here 7 years ago in Corpus Christi, and this is the American dream, right? I had all these ideas, and over here I was able to really make it happen.
Yeah, and you definitely made a lot of things happen too. Like I'm actually looking at your website right now, and you just touched on it a little bit. I mean, you got into sewing and making 3D printed purses,
Yeah,
and
I
just
have it right here
creating
if
a
anyone wants to
revolution
see.
within that.
This is one of my purses. I actually use it. I take every time I go to the store. They're like freaking out because they're like wondering, like, oh, how did you make this? Like, see, I can fit my phone in
I
it.
love that. I
Yeah,
love
that's
that. For those who are watching on YouTube right now and
same.
base and for those who are listening on the audio and not watching it on YouTube, Shirin is literally showing us one of her 3D printing
That's one of
purses.
them.
Just one of the many purses that she
Yeah.
makes, which just lets you know she's in tune with the creative side as far as her brain, that right side of our brain that we need to tune into. That way we can make magical things happen. And I feel like that's where every self-employed person, every entrepreneur person can benefit from, by tapping into the creative side of their brain
Yes. But it's
versus,
also very logical because the 3D printing
I was just
it's
about to say, the
yeah.
logical side as well too. That balance of the logic and the creativity. You
Yeah.
took the words right out of my mouth. So, what kind of inspired you to want to kind of just make your own kind of purses, so to speak?
Okay, well, okay, so this is what happened. I was in Montreal and I was walking, and it's like a very artsy neighborhood where like all the artists live, and like people from France and like the celebrities there would live in, and people, they have interesting styles there. And I saw this girl with like a very boxy kind of purse. I'm like, what is that? Like
Mm-hmm.
so fascinated with it. Is this
Spark
going to
your
be like a
interest,
first?
spark your
Yeah, I wanted
curiosity.
to ask her, yeah, like what's in there? Like, how does that work? And I was like going on Google trying to find a purse like that everywhere, Etsy, you name it. And I didn't actually see what like was inside her purse, but then I started imagining what could be inside a purse like that. Like, does it have compartments? Because one of the difficulties I have is when you're living in a place like New York or something, and you like to work on a laptop at a coffee shop or something. You carry. I don't have a car to put everything in a trunk. You have to carry everything on you. So if I
Mm-hmm.
want to go to the coffee shop and use my laptop there, it would be nice to have like a kind of boxish kind of purse where I have everything compartmentalized and I can take things out. And it's also the factor of over there, because it's a big city and there's poverty too. I got mugs. I got my phone stolen from my purse. Like,
Mm.
so I needed to make something that like wouldn't be so easy for a thief. So
No.
I had to like think of something that worked for my urban lifestyle, you could say. And then I had this idea, and I'm like, how am I going to make this happen? And I was trying to uh sketches, and then I started like learning how to sew. I'm like, is it the sewing route that I have to go, the 3D printing? And then I had a friend at the time who worked at a really interesting organization that was nonprofit and tried to democratize technology, and they like let people use 3D printing. This was like 15 years ago, so that's pretty ahead of the time. So I got the idea of 3D printing, but in Montreal, I didn't have access to I didn't have like the best computer to do all of that kind of stuff. But when I was in America and I married my husband, and yeah, I got a pretty good laptop and I could do those kinds of things. So I got Fusion 360, AutoCAD, and I learned it with all these tutorials. Also, like not just not having the laptop, like all these cool tutorials out there. And by the way, LinkedIn Learning is a really good tool. It's free. It's not free. It's actually like $40 a month, but you can have it for free. People don't know this. as a Texan, you can get a free library card at Houston Library, and that Houston Library card comes with a lot of digital resources, which includes LinkedIn Learning. And you can learn pretty much any software that way. They have really good courses. It's free. And I learned AutoCAD from that, and AutoCAD Fusion 360. And it took a long time. It wasn't easy, like it took me like a year, we're probably several months. And finally I came up with this idea. My husband, he engineer, so that's another helpful thing. It wasn't just me. So my husband really helped me out, like in every way you could imagine. He didn't do the program, the Fusion 360, but he did everything else. He made it happen. We printed a bunch of purses. I still haven't made the purse that could fit my laptop, but that's okay. Now I'm in America now, so everything goes in the trunk, and you just can easily take. Yeah, but I don't even go to coffee shops. I'm always at home. But in case I go back to that lifestyle, I don't know, in the future when I'm retired, which I would love to do. I'm a big city girl.
I love the fact, Shirin, that you basically are always like curious and you're always thinking of how can I solve this problem, because you basically just described the basis of what entrepreneurs should be doing, what they're doing it for. They should be trying to like solve a problem with whatever idea that they come across, because that's how some of the greatest inventors in modern time and just in history in general basically have come up with some of the greatest creations that we see within the world. So I love the fact that you decided to take on the challenge of like, okay, I'm not ever going to get anything stolen from me or mugged for instance whatsoever. So I'm going to make a purse to where I'm going to make it a little bit challenging for y'all, for those who try to do it again. And
oh yeah,
I'm not mad at you for, learning from your mistakes and solving your problems and creating ideas based off of that, because that's sometimes how the best inventions in the world are discovered. That's for sure. I mean, if you haven't figured it out by now, for those who are listening to the HFWB podcast series, Shirin is a very creative person who's always thinking of the next thing she wants to accomplish as far as goals and what's on her to-do list and stuff. And as I alluded to in the intro, a lot of people don't know this about you, Shirin, but that you're actually an author who actually has their own coloring book as far as for, helping kids learn Spanish by coloring, different things and stuff of that nature.
Yes.
Like, it's called, I'm actually looking at it right now.
I have a few. I have one about numbers. I have one about shapes. I have one about general. Because I think I try to teach my kids French and Spanish. So, and the best way to learn is through fun. And, I worked with some Ukrainian artists. This was the time when, the war is still happening. So I collaborated with them, and, I thought it would be good to provide them financially, but they're working, and hopefully help them out too, and help children out. And it was a good experience to learn how that works, because like I had to work with Adobe InDesign, and that's how you make like books. And I also other books I tried AI, but I don't just copy paste. AI is good for like a foundation, and then you have to tweak it up and make it nice yourself. Like
without question. I love that. I love that. And speaking of artists and everything, you have some sort of artwork that you've done before in the past. Correct me if I'm wrong, if that is the case and anything. We're for anyone who's like trying to like come up with their own like portrait or piece of art, describe that creative space that you have to be in just to create their own kind of artwork that kind of expresses how they truly feel in that actual present moment of them creating.
Well, it's a good question. Well,
from your perspective, of course.
My perspective, from what I do, you need time and a nice space. I'm sorry, I don't have anything really inspirational to say, but like common sense, you need to feel
It's
good
okay,
and
Shireen. Sometimes
yeah.
people need common sense. That's
Yeah.
sometimes the best way people can understand. No worries.
Yeah, feel good. You need to have a good space. You can't, mornings is probably better, maybe between 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Is a good time because that's supposed to be like the peak time of like your brain working. I don't believe in this night owl stuff. Yeah, just eat healthy, be the best you can be, and just get it out there. And I'm always watching tutorials on how to like do things the best and fastest way, efficient way, work efficiently. Um, yeah, don't go to the paper and just think like or the computer and just like wait for an idea. Like have the idea and then you use the computer to make the idea happen, or the paper or whatever medium you're using.
It's like I tell
Yeah.
people this all the time, Shireen. All things are created twice, and you have to begin with the end in mind without question. It's like I always use the example of like an architect who's like trying to like build like a house or like a brand new building. They don't start just like throwing a bunch of bricks and all this stuff together to make the actual building or house. They actually get out a little blueprint, right? And they draw out the design based on what they envision within their mind.
Yes.
And then they actually go into construction mode. And that's basically kind of like the best analogy for those listening on how you could apply that not only just to art, you could also apply that, for instance, to music. You could apply that to basically anything that you're trying to create something out of nothing within the course
Yes.
of life that you live on a regular basis. But speaking of the music,
Oh,
for those who are
can I
listening,
please add something? Because I know I forget
yeah, go
if
ahead.
anyone's
By all
watching,
means, Shireen.
it's a good tip. But sometimes when you're creating and you find a problem, like, oh man, how am I going to do this part? Margaret Atwood says, she's a famous writer. Just have the idea in your mind before you go to sleep, and in the morning, the solution will come to you. That happens.
Mm.
Yeah,
No,
just like that tip.
that's a
Yeah,
great tip right there, and that
yeah.
definitely is going to be on that should be on replay mode for everyone who's currently listening to the HFWB podcast series. Rewind that part that Shireen just said, just in
Yeah.
case if you're having trouble with any aspect of your life. That's great advice. As a
Yeah,
matter
well,
of
for
fact.
artwork especially, or any project,
Yeah,
any problem in life. Yeah,
100%. I
yeah.
totally agree with that. I want to kind of touch on your music a little bit, Shireen, because a lot of people don't realize how talented you are
Oh,
within that. I'm going to be completely honest. As we were talking about this before we pressed record, I was actually listening to some of your music while I was doing an at-home workout at my home and everything. And I'm like, you know what? I can listen to this. I mean, it's different, but it's unique. I mean, it helps you kind of get in the zone. It's like that pop rock mixed in with a little bit of that dark electro techno kind of sound in the background to it. It's a unique different blend that will definitely help you zone out for sure in a workout. So kind of like describe like your musical taste for those who are listening to the HFWB podcast series and want to know how they can listen to some of the songs that you've done, all your new songs, your old songs, like what
yeah.
kind
It's
of
all
drove you into that particular lane?
well. I growing up, like you watched MTV. In Canada, we have a similar thing like that, and I was just always fascinated by music, and I really liked it. And there's a lot of bands, of course, like Spice Girls and all that came along. And there was this one band that nobody knows, especially in Canada, they don't know, but it's called Jackalope. But like the guy that produced it was like, I guess. It was in a band called forget the name. Skinny Puppy. But anyways, it's like then I got to this world called industrial music. Like it's kind of like Depeche Mode is the popular version of that. And I was living in Montreal, and when you're in a big city like that, and by the way, they have that kind of scene here in Corpus Christi too, like a goth kind of scene.
Mm-hmm.
And then I opened the world to me to something called cold wave and new wave and
I think I know what you're
European
talking
music.
about.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. With the internet, you're opening up your mind to that, and uh, being in Montreal, I was able to go to like a lot of shows, and I said I want to try that, and why not me? I don't come from like a family of like musicians and all that, but I got some equipment, and I'm I've been doing this for a long time, and I'm not like famous or have like I don't do shows or anything like that, but I just like to do it, and I put like my 100% in it, and I'm always learning to be better producer. I used to like work with producers and pay like spend a lot of money in studios, and it's very stressful to do that because like, you know, let's be real here, like let's be honest, you work on this music, you're never going to see the returns. And so I eventually had to learn to produce myself, record myself. Then I used to pay someone to do the mixing and mastering. And then like I just, now that I'm a parent, like I feel so bad for spending money on things that should be for my kids. So I learned how to do that stuff myself. And all of that information right now is on YouTube and LinkedIn Learning, which I think everyone should get because it's free with your Houston library card that every Texan can get. And it's just really no excuse. If you have a song in your head, and I'm sure everyone does, and I make sure my kids know music, so if they have a song in their head, you should put it out there, even if you don't get that much views, because I don't think that should be the purpose. I think everyone should do their art as their therapy, their expression. Yeah. And yeah, basically all the songs that I have out are just songs that were in my head. I didn't say, oh man, I want to make music and get like be the rock star. Yeah, maybe in the beginning I was like, yeah, I want to be the rock star, but now I'm like, oh, I'll just do it because that's what I want to do. And I like to, you know, I have all this all these ideas I want to put out there. So yeah, maybe when my kids are older I can like do better at like the marketing side of things. It's not a lot of people know me. I don't even know how you know me, but people in Corpus don't know me. If they do know me, because like I'm a stay-at-home mom, it's because like actually we didn't mention this. I do some activism with cycling, bike activism. So yeah,
that's probably where and again, it's like I alluded to in the beginning of this particular episode. Social media is a very, very powerful thing. It's just I was just scrolling across, you know, on Facebook and stuff, and then I think it was one of the posts that you made about you being in the gym and being in the at the Corpus Christi Athletic Club.
Yes,
that really caught my attention on you, Shirin. And
really?
I was looking and I was like, okay, this is someone who's dedicated to their fitness and their health and overall well-being. And that was when I just basically clicked on the profile and I realized all the other stuff that you did. I'm like, oh wow. I love discovering people who have like hidden talents that may not know about. That's why it led to me like, okay, I need to get in contact with this person and get him on my podcast because many people may not know about her and know the stuff that she does. And look at how the universe works, Shirin. Here we are, just having a great conversation.
Reaching out. Like it's really hard to reach. Like there's just so much content out there, and it's hard to find out. Like you know. What's worth paying attention to or not. Like there's just so much there's just too much information, too much videos out there, and a lot of them, let's face it, that's not really good for our intellect. Yeah, so yeah, I think I should do more things in person. Maybe in the future when my kids are older, I do like concerts and stuff, but for now I could be doing art walk and things like that, but my focus is on my kids. So but yeah, thanks for reaching out. Yeah, and I still go to the gym a lot. I that post is probably about how I was like, I'm trying to, you know, get the body composition, which is important, not just like weight, like the muscle mass and all that. But by the way, now I'm in a good range.
That's good. That's good. That just goes to show you all the hard work pays off. And at the same time, you're getting the necessary rest that you alluded to, which allows you to go to sleep with certain, you know, problems that you may have, but at the same time, certain ideas that you may have. And as you alluded to in that quote that you mentioned, when you wake up the next day, the solution can come. And one thing that I found on you that was very, very interesting that doesn't get talked about enough is lucid dreaming. I mean, lucid dreaming is a very, very interesting. It's very, very interesting. I personally have never done it, but I've talked to people who have done it. And it's like the way they describe the experience, it draws the curiosity out of me as far as like, well, I wouldn't mind experiencing that, you know, once or twice just to kind of see what that's about. So I have to ask you this, Shirin. I know you don't remember all the experiences that you had with lucid dreaming and stuff, but at the same time, what is your best memory of lucid dreaming and kind of describe it for those who are listening to the HFWB podcast series who's wondering, what is lucid dreaming? How could I benefit off of that? And what kind of experience is it like for someone?
Yeah, lucid dreaming, it's about dreaming and realizing in the dream that you are dreaming. And then you can do whatever you want in that dream because you know you're going to wake up. So I was flying, and that's all I remember. So it's really important to have a dream log, which I don't do, but if you have time,
to work on that too.
You write down your dreams. It's so crazy how people remember their dreams and details early in the morning, but as the day progresses, you totally forget, like pretty much the whole thing. So yeah, then you start remembering the memory that you had, if that makes any sense. So
that makes a little bit of sense. I mean,
yeah.
There's certain dreams that I have to where they feel like so real to me, Shirin, to where it's like I wish I can like do like you said, have a dream log and kind of write that down. And as many notebooks that I have around my own house, I don't even think about that in that particular moment of time. And shame on me for not doing that. But that's something that I'm definitely going to take on more so than ever. And
yeah, dreams are like the most magical thing in life because like it makes no sense. I told you I'm an atheist, so when people there's a lot of religious stuff around here in Corpus Christi, and at first it was funny, but now anyway. but
it's funny that you brought that up because I was going to actually bring that up as kind of like my next question, as far as most people don't know that you're an atheist and everything. So it's kind of like when it comes down to just like the perspective and the viewpoint of it for those who are kind of confused as far as what is an atheist and what can we learn from an atheist, because at the end of the day, life is all about perspective. Whether you're a believer or a non-believer, we all have our perspective. That's what makes the world and the universe that we live in its own unique thing. It's kind of like if we go to a ice cream shop, for example, and the only flavor that was available is vanilla, people tired of that after a while, which is why there's different kinds of flavors. Hence,
this
perspectives.
Yeah, but we want to know the truth flavor. Like but anyways, but last thing about like the lucid the dream, like that's like the only magical thing that we have, and like I just feel like I'm open to like, well, as an atheist, I'm open to. But there's also agnostic people who say like they're just open to the truth, like they're open to the idea of the higher power and all that. I'm more interested. I'm very interested in all these new findings that the scientists have about the afterlife and the aliens, the extraterrestrials, and there's something going on in this world that is beyond these books that have been written 2,000 years ago or 3,000 years ago. We need to know. There's something going on there, and I want to know from the scientific point of view, from scientists and a peer-reviewed scientists, like, for example, things that like scientists, the whole world agree on. Like obviously all the scientists in the world are going to agree on, for example, that the earth goes around the sun. But in some religions, they still believe the sun actually goes around the earth. But obviously with all the technology we have and GPS and all that, we know like the earth goes around the sun. So, but the scientists are coming up with so many interesting theories on the afterlife, the dimensions, the aliens, the extraterrestrials. I really like love to like keep my mind open to like the things that the scientists are saying. I feel like religion is blocking people from the truth, and it's so sad to see that people go 1 hour a week to religious establishments, and like when all this is happening. So sorry to offend anyone, but I have to say it.
And I'm glad that you kind of brought up some of the stuff that you said, and that kind of makes a little bit of sense, because I'll be honest, I don't go to church every single Sunday, but I do believe in certain aspects. Like I believe in the Holy Trinity aspect of it. Like I don't believe in most of the stuff that they talk about in religion. As a matter of fact, I question it more so than anything, which is why I like to keep an open-minded perspective on everything you just touched on, as far as like science behind it. Like, I mean, we can go on and on about the aliens, because honestly, now that you bring that up, Shirin, I truly do believe in aliens myself personally.
Oh, we know they exist.
We are, if you think that we're the only ones
No,
here in this universe, you are
it's the
absolutely
opposite.
insane, because the Earth is just a tiny little dot and the universe is big, wide, and massive. You really think that we're the only ones in this universe? You are absolutely crazy.
Oh no.
And if you really want to get into all of it and stuff, who do you think made the pyramids?
Well, it's beyond that, the pyramids. Yeah, like something's going on here. Yeah, something is going on. And like, for example, this is not anymore like something like fringe, crazy conspiracy theories. Like I saw on Unsolved Mysteries, like this one incident in Michigan, like even the radars found those alien
the UFOs.
The UFOs, even. And so it was detected by radars. It was seen by every, like, mass sighting. It was a mass sighting, so many people, hundreds of people saw it. And there's even one mass sighting incident even here in Stephenville, Texas. So people don't know about these things, but like the proof is there. So, and
it is.